The journey of self-discovery and authenticity is one of the most profound and transformative processes a person can experience. Recognizing oneself as bisexual, transgender, homosexual, or non-binary not only involves defining an essential part of personal identity, but also unraveling the layers of social norms, cultural beliefs, and internal fears that have taken root over time. It all begins with a feeling, an intuition that tells us something inside of us doesn't align with external expectations. Perhaps it's a recurring thought, an emotion that surfaces when confronted with the mold of what is considered normal, or a persistent discomfort that urges us to reflect more deeply on who we are. At this point, many people experience confusion and fear. Fear of not being understood, of being rejected by loved ones, or even of facing ourselves. These fears are understandable because from a young age, society teaches us unwritten rules about what should be correct. We are told what love is, how we should look, behave, and even think. However, identity is not something that can fit into an imposed mold. It is a broad and colorful spectrum, and every person has the right and responsibility to explore theirs with honesty and respect. It is crucial to remember that our identity belongs only to us. No one else has the right to define who we are or how we should live our lives. Recognizing ourselves does no harm. On the contrary, it is an act that enlightens, liberates, and fills us with life. The labels we choose to describe ourselves, or even the decision not to use any, are intimate choices that belong solely to us. For those observing from the outside, education and practicing empathy are fundamental. Respecting people in their process of self-discovery is an act of humanity. It is not about fully understanding, but about accepting and valuing each individual for who they are. Recognizing this diversity not only enriches our perspective but also creates a fairer and more loving world. One of the greatest challenges of self-discovery is confronting the emotions that arise in the process. Guilt, shame, and fear are often common companions. Not because there is something intrinsically wrong with our identity, but because we have internalized social prejudices. It is important to understand that these emotions reflect a system that has tried to define us, not our true essence. Moreover, the journey can feel lonely. Loneliness does not necessarily stem from the lack of people around us, but from the sense that no one can understand what we are experiencing. However, by opening up and seeking support, we discover that this feeling is an illusion. Thousands of people are walking or have walked similar paths. The process of recognizing oneself is difficult for several reasons. Firstly, society has established strict norms about what it means to be normal. These norms can create a dissonance between what we feel internally and what we believe we should be. Despite the challenges, there are powerful tools that can help us on this journey. Education. Learning about the diversity of sexual and gender identities can provide clarity and a sense of belonging. There are countless resources from books to online testimonials that can inspire and guide us. Community. Seeking support in communities that share similar experiences is transformative. Surrounding ourselves with people who understand and accept us as we are can ease fear and strengthen our self-esteem. Therapy or psychological support. Working with a professional can help us unravel the fears and limiting beliefs we have internalized. An affirming therapist can be a beacon of light in this process. Self-compassion practices. Being kind to ourselves is essential. This path is not free of mistakes, setbacks, and doubts. Remember that self-love is not a destination but a constant practice. Spirituality and reflection. Many spiritual traditions teach us that we are valuable simply for being who we are. Meditation, reflective writing, and other spiritual practices can help us connect with our essence. Recognizing and living our truth is not only an act of self-love but also a revolutionary act. It is a declaration to the world that we will not allow external expectations to define our happiness. It is an act of resistance that inspires others to do the same. With every step you take toward your authenticity, with every fear you face and overcome, you are writing a story of courage and love. Remember, love in any form needs no explanation. It is a powerful energy that unites, heals, and transforms. There is no right or wrong love, there is only love, and it begins from within, with self-love. Psychologist Brené Brown expresses it clearly. True self-love is not about thinking you are better than others, it is about knowing you are enough as you are. When we accept our differences and love ourselves as we are, we open the door to more genuine and deeper relationships with others. At the end of the day, the greatest act of love you can offer yourself is to be yourself. In the words of poet E. Cummings, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Your authenticity is a gift to the world. Each step you take toward your personal truth also paves the way for others. So trust yourself, embrace your colors, live freely, and remember that respect begins with yourself. Be the example of love and acceptance that the world needs. At the end of the journey, you will discover that you are not only whole, but also infinite.